Yeah, well, it controls many of the body's functions, but mainly balance. So, to go back to my rehab days, like, when I awakened from my coma, I was only able to move my right index finger, and I couldn't speak or anything, so, I mean, in a nutshell, I was in the hospital for 7 months, and I had to relearn everything all over again. I remember going through eating therapy because for a while I was fed through a feeding tube, and nothing could be tolerated orally by me. So, my eating therapist would actually have to put thickener into my drinks. So it was like a sawdust. It was incredibly disgusting. But, it made it thicker so I could handle it a little easier.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, that's just one of the things I had to go through. But also, there was an integrated public school system, and when I first got to the hospital, I didn't even know my alphabet, and I was previously in the 4th grade. So, luckily, within a month, my brain progressed rapidly, and I was back up to grade level.
That's amazing. I mean, what do you have so many parts of your book that talk about how you were just such a competitor. You were a competitor before your accident. You like to compete with your friends. You like to play. You like to be out there winning and doing. Where did this all come from? I mean, you fought like hell during this, and no matter what anybody said that you can't do something, you were like, oh yeah, I can. And you did it, and you didn't want to be held back. Where did that passion and that desire and that strength all come from?
Yeah, so that's a good question. I would have to say it was just engraved in me through my genetics, because my family is all very athletic. Like, my mom was an all-star athlete in high school and all that. So, I think a lot of it came from them, and then I would mountain bike race and BMX race as a child with my brother, and I would always want to win. Winning was my favorite thing, so I did whatever it took, and then, the accident happened, and I had no idea what to do, and then, pretty quickly I figured out that I just wanted to get back to doing sports like before, so I knew it would be a really long road, and everything was questionable, but I had to give it my all and see where it took me.
Now, I think it was your mother at one point in the book who talked about how the accident happening with you so young was almost a blessing because your brain still is working and healing and could heal differently than if it happened to you at 30,
Yeah.
I mean, that's such a power of the brain, and it's amazing that they would look at it as that kind of a blessing. But I want to also talk, because this one part, you want to talk about making me cry? Did you have to make me cry? Because you were talking about, the fact that you couldn't talk, and you surprised your dad at one point, and you and your mom called him on the phone. and tell our audience what happened in the words that you said to your dad, because I don't think I can say it and not cry now.
Yeah, so my mom was sitting down with me one night in the therapy room, and she was like, I know you could talk. We're going to get you to talk. So she had me sound out some syllables, and I was able to make the H sound, the B sound, and the D sound. And she immediately started crying and whipped out her phone and called my dad. And then she said, someone needs to say something to you. And I said, hi, Dad, bye.
All right, I'll get through the rest of this interview. That was just the start, because you even wrote after that. I'm sure if you're not already a believer, because you're very religious, you're very spiritual, that you're converting right now, and because you guys believed in a lot of the prayer to get you, get you going and help you to heal. Am I right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
You took a pilgrimage too. And I can't pronounce the name of the place that you went to. So
it was
Medjugorje. Okay. Tell us a little bit about what kind of effect that had on you, because something happened after that down the road that I want to ask you about that wasn't exactly, it was kind of a low point for you. But talk about that trip and what that meant to you and your healing.
Yeah, well, it was very interesting because, after my accident and throughout my recovery, I just had so much pent-up anger towards God. I mean, I didn't know why he would do this to me and all that. So when my mom told me about this pilgrimage, I'm like, I really don't want to go, but I knew I couldn't tell her that, so I'm like, all right, sure. And there was an anonymous benefactor who actually paid our way, so that put a little more pressure on me. And then, actually, once I got there, I made a lot of great friends because I was in a youth group of about 20 or so. I had a lot of fun there. The place, Medjugorje, is so well known because the Blessed Mother appeared there to a few visionaries. I believe in the 60s or so. Mm-hmm. So, every now and then, the Blessed Mother actually comes back and appears to the visionaries and gives them messages. So, while we were there was actually an apparition that we all went to see. Of course, we couldn't see anything, but we saw the visionary in a trance state just looking up on a stage. So it was pretty powerful, and there were a few very significant encounters there that really made me think about why this happened to me, and it ultimately brought me peace. So it was a very incremental trip for me to take. Wow.
That is amazing. I mean, and you have such a, you talk about it being this amazing thing for you. And I look at your story and I think of how many people are going to be inspired from you and your story, because you talk about this one thing. You said this one line, and I immediately copied it down, and it was, "No truck is going to take the competitive edge away from me." And you actually participated in, now I can't remember if the pilgrimage was before this or after this, but you participated in the Special Olympics at Hofstra University. And what was it like being that, you weren't able to bike, for all this time, and now you're going into the Special Olympics, and, you took home gold, man. I mean, that first time out and you take home gold. What did that mean to you?
It was pretty great. I mean, it was just a nice outlet for me, something to distract me from my everyday endeavors of therapies and all that. So it was also a major thing because it meant that I could do sports again, and I was getting back to the life that I previously had.
And part of that life that you previously had was watching Lance Armstrong bike, and you're a huge, he was like an idol of yours. What was it back then? And I know a lot changed with him and his career, and we don't really have to get into that. But early on as a kid, what was it looking at the Tour de France and Lance Armstrong that just said, I love this, and I love, this guy's amazing? I mean, what was it?
I think it was his stop-at-nothing attitude, and also just the whole notion of professional cycling really spoke to me, because, they're just traveling all over the world riding their bikes, and as I said before, I grew up riding bikes, so I always loved doing that. So I loved traveling too. So I thought the two really complemented each other.
Yeah, it's a freedom, being on that bike and just being able to go places even a car can't go. It's a freedom.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, you are such a positive person, but I don't want to skip over the fact that it was a really hard struggle for you. And I don't know if you feel comfortable talking about this, but you had a part in the book where you talk about actually wanting to commit suicide, but you kind of got through that. There are a lot of people that are going through what you went through and might have that same feeling. What would you tell them about that moment in your life and how you got through it?
So what really made me turn around from that is just thinking about all the people that look up to me. And I provided an example for so many, even back then. And if I was to take my life, that would really just be saying that I was too weak to handle this. And that's not the example that anyone needs. So it was interesting because that night my brother invited me into the backyard to camp out, and he's never done that before. And he had no clue of my intentions, and eventually I told him, and he was scared to death. And what he said really sticks out in my mind, that suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
with all of these suicides you hear in the news, my kids are in their 20s, but when they were a little younger, I said to them, you only get one shot at committing suicide the right way, and you can't change it when you do it right. I said, so, and it's, I really hope that our listeners who have been through what